You're watching The Green Machine, your home for Irish football news and nostalgia. I'm David, your host, joined by Nick and Martin. This is the show where you lovely fans out there can have your say out in YouTube and Facebook land. As always, get involved, have your say. I'm even going to put a banner on it. There you go. Get involved, give us a comment. Anything you want to ask us about, give us a shout. How are you doing, lads? Are you well? Martin, how many of me can you see?
Too many, Dave. Always seeing one of you is too many. But no, fresh from Wembley. Look, I rushed back from Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
I was there at the semi-final watching Brighton without Evan Ferguson playing against Man United this afternoon. Awful game. I think that's the worst Man United performance I've ever seen. And that's saying something in recent years.
And he missed a podcast for that.
I did miss a podcast for that, but not a live podcast. I rushed back. I told you that. So, because I know that people were so happy last week when I had to hold the fort for the 2 minutes. When
doesn't even have the decency to wear a Green Machine shirt. Look at that. What's this? Were you a lumberjack or something?
Listen, look what I have got. A little lanyard.
You get that off.
Wembley.
You get that off. You have not earned that.
Is that for the coronation, Martin? Is that for the coronation, that lanyard?
Club Wembley one. I tell you what, this could be very valuable in 6 weeks' time when I'm trying to get into Wembley and knowing the security of Wembley and its laxity, Dave. I'm hopeful of getting in with that.
Do you know what? Actually, I actually do know the top people in security at Wembley. I'm going to tell them just to be spiteful. Just got to tell them, look out for this prick.
That's nice, Dave, isn't it? Jeez, that's lovely. But no, obviously, brilliant day in a way. Like I was in Club Wembley. Thanks. I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Lawrence, who gave me his Club Wembley tickets. Lawrence Wren, and hopefully he'll give me in for the final as well. But it's going to be massive demand, Man City, Man United. But look, it's always a good occasion. The FA Cup semi-final. Very strange as well that it fell today, 23rd of 2023, 40 years on from Brighton, Man United in the FA Cup final. Fair play, putting up the image there. Tony Grealish, amazing. That obviously that was the FA Cup final. This is the 10-year anniversary today of the passing of Tony Grealish, and what a legend he was. London, Irish born. What a servant he was for us, and a brilliant story. I must say, Damien Dolan, who from the Irish World's done a lovely piece on that that we should give a shout out to as well. So. Yeah, it would resonate with a lot of our listeners and followers, to be honest, from the West London club.
Yeah, you're a busy man today, actually, Martin. Here you are. Something you want to say? But here you are with the great Pat Jennings, who I presume has shrunk a lot because you're not very tall, Martin. I stood next to you. And
what did he do to you, Martin? Actually,
what did he do to you, Martin? Where's his hand?
Yeah.
No, it's fine. He was just he shook my lanyard at one stage, but no, it's fair play. I've got a signed program from him, another one for the collection. What a legend! It's really strange. Again, when the supporters club started 40 years ago, that it was very much a community kind of idea, I suppose, in London with the Irish community and stuff. And Liam Brady being very close friends with Pat Jennings. I've seen photos of the committee from the supporters club back then, West London. And Pat Jennings is at events with them in the embassy and things. So I did mention that to him today. So I said, we must get you back to something, 40 years on, because it's our anniversary next year. And he said, yep. He goes, give Liam a shout. So Liam Brady, I know he's an avid listener of this. And
he's watching, isn't he?
Of course he is. But we want to get on to Liam. And he said he contributed to Liam's film recently, which I said, I really enjoyed. It was good. And Sean Casey did that, of course. And that's something that we're going to chat about soon on the pod, hopefully.
And also, who are you talking to? Who's it? Here we are. Look at that. Lovely graphic in the background there as well.
Yeah, I had a very busy weekend. I was Friday night West London meeting. I had Keith Andrews come over. There was about 50, 60 members of the supporters club at that, which was okay, to be fair, but brilliant. I mean, I kept him going for about 2 hours chatting to him and didn't broach any subject. Quizzed about lots and lots of things, which I'm
never mentioned that he's a spoofer, no?
No, I didn't go for the Nick angle.
Nick.
I'll tell you what, though, brilliant. Like, and I kind of probably indulged myself, to be honest, because I asked a lot of the questions which I think are, unusual and challenging. Like, I asked him about.
Did you get a signed program from him?
I didn't bother getting anything signed by him. Actually, I was very regretful about that. But no, he is going to be a proud
2 hours.
Yeah, but he's going to be a proud wearer soon of a very important, part part of Irish football history soon. We did gift him a Green Machine podcast shirt.
And as always, a beautiful segue there. A lovely pass. Baby Poos up front, going to knock it in the open goal. Actually, that was real football. Probably hit the crossbar. But anyway, yes, you can have one of these. Here is the Green Machine shirt. Is available from our shop. Shop it. That's Irish for shop. Martin. Here it is. You can buy this £40, €45, free delivery anywhere in the world, and also you can get yourself a lovely badge. You can get
set of badges.
Set of badges. Here's one of them.
Yeah. That's it. Bag of badges, not bag of cans. Bag of badges. Yeah. But that brilliant guest. Like as I said, sat there for 2 hours of us chatting away, and really insightful. And I did go to town a little bit of asking questions about some amazing stuff, which I will try and remember, to be honest. And I'll segue into future episodes of this, because I kind of regret not recording it. But we like at Risk London when we have guests for them to be open and transparent and just open up,
absolutely.
But absolutely brilliant, and some great insight into what goes on. And I think I'll let that slip at other times when I remember it, because I'm a Kenny fan, as many of you know. And
here we go now, Nick. Strap yourself in.
I'm just a big. I'm a
Here
big
comes
fan
the
of
Kenny
it,
plug.
But I just think it's very insightful into what goes on. And one thing I would say, which I think might be interesting to the listeners,
go on.
is every month the senior management team and all the teams downwards meet now, and that never happened before. So from the senior team, under 21s, 19s, 17s, 15s, Kevin Foley's actually now involved with the under 15s. Which I thought was kind of news to us recently, which is brilliant. But all that idea of how our ex-pros are involved now, I did give credit to Keith Andrews the other night. He said he actually went to the FAI and said, this is what we can offer and what we want to do. And he'd come through the coaching ranks with the FAI. And obviously John Walterson's involved, David Myler's involved as well. Yeah. John O'Shea is obviously involved. So it's brilliant that happened, because remember, we've been quite scathing, I think, Nick, haven't we, where, Lee Carsley and Kevin Kilban offered their services to the FAI, got knocked back, didn't get anything there. So now it's in place. And I think I love the fact that they have this monthly meeting. So they're all on the same kind of pathway. And I think that's very important to kind of reflect and know that that's happening. I think it's good for the future.
No worries. Thank you there. This is obviously the Martin Prendergast's podcast, clearly. And I can tell you've had a few, haven't you? What's in that mug? Show me.
Just I've got a finger in the pulse. That's all it is.
Well, we know who had a finger in you earlier on.
Dave has a finger in the pulse with the dates, just to check that they're still
yes, normally they a bit of a lull, actually. No.
Right.
No.
Come on.
Right. Bit of decorum, lads. Right. We're going to move it on to Boys in Green. And no, we still haven't got the music sorted. I'm sorry. I don't have time at the moment, but I will. So we're going to show a lovely graphic. Nick.
You happy to have me back, lads?
Graphic. Yes, I had to do the honors last week. You are now back. And Nick has a lot to say. Haven't you, Nick?
Too much, Dave. But look, you love listening to me. You love listening to me. So
well, I've had to listen to you, other fella, for a bit. So now it's over to you.
It's time to lower the standards. Right, so the updates from the weekend. So Liam Scales, a goal for Aberdeen today in their 2-0 win over Rangers. So
Screamer.
Screamer. Well, I think it was meant to be a cross, but they all count. He's of course on loan from Celtic. So doing his parent club a massive favour there in the win over Rangers. Jamie McGrath, another goal. That's 3 on the trot now for Dundee United. They beat Livingston 2-0 into the championship. So this is someone I'd maybe like to have a little chat about. So Dennis Kirkin, a brace for Sunderland, their 2-0 win over West Brom. So Dennis Kirkin, Dublin born, to Latvian parents, has represented England underage, got sent off, I think, for the under-16s English team against Ireland in Dublin a good few years ago, and he is Irish qualified by birth. So he's a left back. He can play left centre half. We've mentioned him on the show a few times. He's someone I would love to maybe see approached. I know we played Latvia last month, and we called it kind of the Dennis Kirkin derby, didn't we? Now he's actually been linked with a move back to Spurs. He came from Spurs, came from the academy in Spurs, and he has been linked with a move back to them.
He can play for England as well, can't he? Is he the guy who can play for
England?
England?
He is. Well, he's currently playing for the England under-21s.
Oh,
or more recently, he's played for the England under-21s. So he's very highly rated. As I said, he covers a couple of positions. The one kind of, I wouldn't say it's a glaring deficiency that we have, but I would love we have more left-sided or left-footed, left-sided centre halves, and Kirkin can play in there. Now, he was playing as kind of a proper fullback today when he scored the 2 goals and, you know, 2 very, very tidy finishes, but someone that's worth looking at. I don't know how connected he is to Ireland. We don't know that. We'd have to kind of get that from him ourselves. But again,
well, send Martin around. I'm sure he'll
send Martin around. He'll convince him. But yeah, no, very, very good player. And
he'll get him on the bandwagon.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on there.
Gunning for each other this week.
Yeah. Moving on there. So speaking of Martin, so in the Martin Prendergast derby, Cardiff City versus Stoke, Will Smallbone, cousin William, and assist for Stoke in their 1-1 draw with Callum O'Dowd as Cardiff. Callum O'Dowd, in case you didn't know, but you probably did, based on Martin's tweets, based on Martin's, I suppose, fanboy love letters. It's Callum O'Dowd's birthday. What did you get him, Martin? Martin's on mute, but
oh, what a shame! Moving on, Nick.
Shut up, you fuckers!
Right, notice.
Moving on.
Move on, Nick.
Moving on.
Listen, he knows the love. He knows the love's still there.
Yeah, he knows the love's still there. So Ryan Manning, so a man who can't
know the love's still there.
Yeah, a man who can't get in the Ireland squad. So 2 assists for Swansea City. They beat Norwich 3-0. So again, Ryan Manning, one of the top fullbacks. I know I spoke about Dennis Kirkin there, but Ryan Manning is certainly exceeding a lot of expectations this season.
Have to do, Nick, to get into that team?
I do not know. Look, his contract is up in the summer. I can see him, you know, Premier League. I don't know. The likes of Sheffield United might look at him. Who knows? They play with wing backs, don't they? So if he gets to the Premier League, I think it's very, very hard to ignore him. I don't know if there is a falling out with Kenny. Nothing has really been documented. The one thing I would say is that when he was given his chance against Lithuania, he was a little bit lethargic.
Yeah.
This is a year ago. This is a different season. He's been probably one of the best fullbacks in the championship this season. So I certainly have him in the squad. He can operate at left centre half, just like I said, Kirkin can. So it's an option there. His stats are kind of through the roof. He will be looking for a new club this season. I think he's going to stay in the championship. But look, I don't know what else he needs to do. Right, so moving on there, Will Keane, a goal for Wigan Athletic in their 2-1 win against Millwall. Sammy Smodux, who did his best Diego Maradona impression, a great finish with his hand, but just a few minutes later, scored a goal for Blackburn Rovers. Smashing goal, by the way. Really, really good finish. Throw the graphic back up there, Dave. Really good. So they drew 1-1 with Preston North End. So again, the Irish strong Preston North End. And then moving into the lower leagues, into League One, Aidan Keena scoring a goal for Cheltenham Town. They beat Forest Green Rovers 3-1, and Will Ferry providing an assist in that game for Cheltenham as well. Dave McGoldrick, goal number 25 of the season for Derby County. They beat Burton 1-0, moving into the playoffs. Promise Omashere, a goal for the Fleetwood Crack. They beat MK Dons 1-0. And then finally, Dylan Duffy, former UCD winger, scoring his first goal in English football. He was playing for Lincoln City, Mark Kennedy's Lincoln City. They beat Wycombe Wanderers 2-0.
Very nice. Very well played. What does Sammy Smodux have to do to get into that Ireland team?
I really don't know. Like, we said this before, haven't we? He offers something very, very different. And I've watched him a good few times. Very, very tidy on the ball. Very, very good finisher. He scored a couple of goals there. I was watching him last week. Jeez, I can't even remember who they were playing, or nearly 2 weeks ago at this stage. Very, very good. I think he had a disallowed goal as well. Very, very good off the ball as well. Really good closing down.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of Wes Hoolahan. Just in terms of his stature, just in terms of his ball control, he can take on players. He's a very, very good runner and carrier of the ball. Very, very good at closing down defenders. I don't know what else he needs to do. Would he fit into Stephen Kenny's system? I don't know. He plays a little bit more centrally. I think he could be adapted in there. But again, question marks will be raised if he isn't there in the summer. But yeah, really tidy player. Really, really like him. And I just hope he isn't one of those players who were like, why the hell is he in there? Because he's going to give us creativity.
let's talk about a player who is in there, and one that we've been receiving a fair bit of stick over, lads. So I'll throw this open, although I'm sure, Nick, you're going to jump in on this. Matt Doherty has played 12 minutes of football for Atletico Madrid. Now, that's pretty shit. I'm not having a go, Matt, by the way, but that's terrible. It's been a terrible move.
No.
Dreadful move. Disastrous move. You've called it a disastrous move, Nick. I support that. Martin, would you agree? Disastrous move?
It's in the sense that
don't try and put your positivity on it now. Come on.
I've got to be positive on it, obviously.
It's a disaster. Lads, it's
a terrible move.
Horrendous.
And look, is it?
The thing is, like,
is it? Like,
he's on holidays.
No, for him as a person, it's fine because like he's going to Madrid. He's playing under Simeone. He's probably learning something there. But from a footballing perspective, and as an Ireland fan, the way that I look at this is he's 12 minutes in the last couple of months. He'd be playing for Spurs. Spurs are a shit show at the moment. 6-1 down today against Newcastle. Like he would have played. And the thing is as well with Doherty, like people are saying, no, it's not disastrous because look, fair play to him. He's made a few up. He's gone off. As an Irish fan, I want to see some of the better players playing. I want to see them playing consistently. George Mendes got him that move. And I think at the time people were like, Jesus, how did he get that? It's because of his agent. It's because of the agent he has. He's a good player. I like Doherty. But that was a move where he was unlikely to play.
Yeah,
it's not at the time it wasn't. It looked like a good move, but the reality was he wasn't going to play. He hasn't played. He's probably not up to that standard. This is Diego Simeone team. You have to really work your bollocks off. Look at Griezmann under Simeone. He's all over the pitch. Doherty, I like Doherty. He serves a purpose. He's a very functional player. He was excellent at Wolves, but he's not that type of player who's going to break his bollocks for 90 minutes. And that's no criticism of him, but he just doesn't really have that
different style of play.
It is a different style of play. So it's a disaster. There's no two ways about it. It's a disaster of a move.
Yeah. And Martin, just before I give you a chance to respond to that, he's 31. He's not 21. Needs to be playing. How can that not be a disaster of a move? He's what is he going to learn? He's 31.
I think he will learn an awful lot though under Simeone, and again, the agent's done a brilliant job getting in the move there. And I think it shows where Tottenham are as a club that they didn't even realise it was a loan move that couldn't be a loan move because they had to end his contract. So financially, fantastic for him. So he's gone over there 6 months. It's basically he's been released from his contract and he's got a 6-month move to a top La Liga side where he's going to learn under one of the best. Yeah, I know that, but why wouldn't you take that risk for 6 months and get the wages and then go, he's not put himself in the shop window.
I don't think anyone's questioned the move. I don't think it's an unbelievable move.
But subsequently,
no one is questioning that the move was fantastic. But the results of the move, I don't think it can be described as anything other than a disaster.
With hindsight, do you think, Martin, in hindsight, that if he knew he was going to play 12 minutes of football, he probably won't play any more than that he would have taken the move, even when their actual right back was out injured?
For 6 months, he would have done it financially. Why wouldn't he have? Like, we got to remember, it's football. This is the thing. I'm going to name drop a little bit into this, again, the Keith Andrews stuff, because I asked him the question about Keaton Kelleher. Does he need to get out of there? And he said it's not as easy as that. It's his contract is a massive thing. Like, will Liverpool let him go out of his contract? It's the same as Matt Doherty. Is he okay? He's a free agent now, but Matt Doherty is going to come in now back after playing 6 months or been training at a very top level La Liga side. He's going to be a very attractive proposition for anyone in the Premier League to come in. Not going to cause trouble, not going to rock the boat. Pissed off Tottenham. I mean, he pissed off, it's pissed off Tottenham. Like, he's supposed to be very close with Harry Kane. Anytime you see the social media posts with Tottenham training, he was always very alongside Harry Kane. It annoyed Harry Kane how that had ended and how his contract was terminated there, apparently. So, he must be a good pro. He's got an amazing opportunity now to come back in and just be decent. He's going to get a huge signing on fee and come into a Premier League team because he's definitely of that quality and he's not going to rock the boat. So I think it's a massive thing for him. And like I said there about Kelleher, it's not as simple as knowing what's going on. Like, sometimes we don't know. And just a quick point there, Dave, before you do jump in and stop me. I didn't know this. This was said the other night. who's now our number 20, Dave? Who's our number 20 for Ireland? You always like him. What's his name?
We're speaking about Matt Doherty here. Don't change the subject.
No.
We're talking about
Anyway,
Matt Doherty.
Chidozie Ogbene is out of contract at the end of the summer. That's a massive thing, isn't it? That's a massive thing now for. I didn't know that, but that's there, and that's going to be again another player now who's going to be tested, can get a brilliant move to a good team. And I know you're not a fan of Josh Cullen, obviously getting promoted, Obafemi as well. But I mean, look, we want many of our players playing at the highest level, and Matt Doherty, bring it back to the topic, he will be back in the Premier League, I would expect, because he's an honest pro. He'll come in, decent wage. I think it was a risk worth taking for him because Tottenham messed up basically, not realizing that they couldn't loan him. They couldn't keep his value because they had to actually end his contract.
Here's a question for you, Martin. How difficult is it for you
to answer a question?
Well, we know that's impossible. But how difficult is it for you right now? And I want you to think about this this is a very serious question. How difficult is it for you to say Matt Doherty's name without seeing it?
Matt Doherty.
Matt Doherty. Going back to the point. Look, yeah, it's great for him. He's gone to a big club, Champions League club, whatever. But he's not playing. There's no. If you were 21, I'd understand it's a great experience. You have a chance to break in. He isn't going to break in. I think he was just taking on his cover to the cover. Really, we've got games, and as a point there, we've got games coming up in June. He's not going to be fit.
As an Ireland fan, as I said, looking at this, it's a disaster. And like the move itself, phenomenal move. Result of it is disastrous because clubs will look at him and they'll say, look, we can get Matt Doherty in a free. However, he hasn't played. At this stage, he might have pre-season under his belt, but they'll say he hasn't played a game he hasn't started a game in 6-7 months. And he probably won't be first choice at his next club then.
So I'll be honest, I'm not having that. Look, many of our players are not playing. That's the problem we have with the Ireland squad. A lot of them aren't playing, and yet they come and turn up for Ireland. They play above their level. That's the fact of it. You know, a lot of them are not playing week in, week out for their country.
Kelleher
for their clubs.
Yeah, but Kelleher's role.
I know that.
Not the NFL because of match fitness.
It's a different goalkeeper. It's a lot different. But I think they can come in and they can do it.
But he hasn't. Kelleher hasn't.
No,
goalkeepers are different. I'm saying Doherty can come in. Like you cannot compare Doherty to say he hasn't played for 6 months when we're calling up other players who haven't played as much and they're the same. And yet they're at clubs. So it's not an argument really to say it was a waste of a move because we've got a lot of players like that.
Well, he's very poor. He's very poor in the last 2 games, Doherty. He didn't look sharp in the last 2 games.
Yeah, but you say that.
He didn't though.
You say that, but where did the goal come from? It came down his side. With Will's cousin Will against Latvia. So it came from that side. Like I was scathing of him, but 2 of our goals come from the right hand side.
He was very bad. He was very bad against Latvia.
He was shocking against Latvia.
Latvia
was shocking. He was captain. He was captain against Latvia, and he was so flat. And yeah, Latvia are horrendous.
Shit.
I think it was a perfect demonstration against Latvia and France that he wasn't playing. And the same as Kelleher. Like there's this whole Kelleher. I don't want to go on about Kelleher-Bazunu, but the Kelleher-Bazunu argument. But you can see the lack of sharpness with Kelleher. Some of the goals he concedes in the last year.
Very rusty.
Very rusty.
I think when you're a wing back,
these lads need to be playing.
When you're a wing back, and I'm gonna get the final say in this because I'm the host, and we need to move it on. But when you're a wing back, you have to be sharp. You have to be fast. You have to be up and down. He's not because he's not match fit. And he won't be match fit come June because he's not playing. And he won't play. And I think at this stage, I'd imagine he's independently wealthy. You know, I'm nothing against somebody going for the money at all. It's a short career, right? But I'm sure he's independently wealthy. You know, he's going to be okay there. He should be trying to get games and force his way back into the Premier League. I think he'll be playing in the Championship next season, if I'm being honest. That's my opinion.
He's better. No, he's not.
I know he's better, but
he'll be in the Premier League squad without a doubt.
I don't think he'll be starting in the Premier League, but I think he'll be in
the Premier League squad.
He needs to be starting.
He'll be in the Premier League squad.
Right. Anyway, listen, we're going to move it on. Fascinating debate, as always. And as always, Martin's wrong. We're going to talk about Nathan Connolly. He's in the graphic, and then Nick pulled a little sort of a thing. Very, very, very quickly. He's still not playing, lads. Worrying times. Just saying.
Look,
we'll move it on.
look, I don't think we need to go on about it. It is worrying. It is worrying. But look, Wolves have turned the corner. And I don't think it's necessarily because Nathan Collins has come out of the team, but it's because Craig Dawson, who's a much more experienced defender, has come into the team, solidified things. But look, Nathan Collins is still so young, and
he's young,
a top player. Top player.
He also needs to be. Maybe we'll get him and move out to Atletico Madrid, and he can learn. Anyway, moving on to James McLean. McLean. So McLean. So Blackpool FC have been charged with misconduct in relation to crowd control following a championship game against Wigan Athletic on the Saturday, the 15th of April. That was last Saturday. The club allegedly failed to ensure that the spectators, including anyone purporting to be supporters or followers, conduct themselves in an orderly fashion and do not use words or otherwise behave in a way which is improper, offensive, abusive, indecent, or insulting with either express or implied reference to religion. Blackpool FC has until Friday, the 28th of April, to respond. So, there you have it. All's right with the world, chaps. James McLean. Christ. I'm listening to Martin too much.
And you're giving it to Martin. You're giving it to Martin saying Matt Doherty.
Yeah, exactly. You see the bind him in. This is the statement anyway that Wigan have made. We're just moving on there. Basically said that they're 100% with James McLean, and they will continue to support him, and they will not tolerate any form of deliberate discrimination or hate crime towards his players, staff, or supporters, and will not allow the behaviour towards anyone who visits the DW Stadium, Dave Whelan Stadium, from anyone associated with our football club. So, has the corner been turned, lads? Will this change things for James McLean, or will November still be hunting season?
It's a step. It is a step. I saw something, I wouldn't say it was funny on social media, but they were basically saying that, all of Wigan's rivals all have a common hate of him, and it's what brings those fans together. But I saw it today, lads. I don't know the name of her, but a Labour MP was suspended, weren't they, for saying that?
Diane Abbott.
Diane Abbott.
Diane Abbott.
Because didn't she say that Irish people and Irish travellers haven't suffered the same discrimination as black people, and she was suspended for that, and that's national news. That's that's something that might carry a bit of weight. The recurring discussion.
A fucking idiot, though. To be fair,
she is. But the recurring discussion with this is it's football fans that you're dealing with. It's I think a lot of people. Like the Wigan fans are behind him, and I think that speaks volumes. And you'd like to think that a lot of them have actually looked into the reasons why James McLean carries out the actions that he does, and they can see that it's with good reason. But at the end of the day, and we say this every November, as long as we're doing the pod, it's football fans you're dealing with, and you can't you can't reason with a lot of them. No. So unfortunately, it'll always be the case. They go for the most vulnerable thing. Like let's say what I worry about now is James McLean, and very admirably, kind of publicizing that he's autistic. You'd worry that if he was, let's say he was wearing the poppy, that they go from them because he was autistic. So they'll go for vulnerabilities. And I'm not saying autism is a vulnerability, but they'll go for things that they can nitpick at to try and hurt a player, to try and target a player. So, that's the unfortunate thing. It's I don't think these people are necessarily racist. Some of them are, absolutely, but I don't think they all are. I don't think that they're anti-Irish. I think that they're targeting a vulnerability within James McLean and amplifying it completely, because that's how football fans are, unfortunately. Not all football fans, but that's how a big chunk of them are, sadly.
So, Martin, why are you picking on James McLean?
I'm not picking on James McLean. And happy St. George's Day to all of our listeners.
Nobody knows it's St. George. People in England don't even know it's St. George's Day. No one cares.
Happy Callum O'Dowda Day. That's what it is.
Happy St. George's Day, everybody.
We've lost Nick. Obviously, I don't know what he's doing. He's obviously.
What do you bump us off one by one, Martin? Is that what you do? Because
I do.
I'm recharging the laptop, lads. I'll be back in a second.
I do think. I think it's a hugely positive thing that the FAA are looking into this. I think fair play. James McLean's highlighted this for many, many years now, and I I'm very grateful actually that Wigan are treating it seriously and supporting him in it, and it's very clear in the statement now. I know you didn't read that part of it, Dave, but that James will be giving evidence into it of and assisting the police and Lancashire police into what happened, so they have to investigate it. And I think it just alerts the fans of that we are kind of we have to kind of be responsible for what we do in the stadiums and our chants and context of it. Now, we've all probably given abuse to players light-hearted ways, but this is going above and beyond that, and it's sectarian or it's religious or any way kind of interpreted that way. You have to remember that it's players of their feelings and stuff, and people go, well, they've got to put up with it because they earn millions of pounds, but they don't have to. And we would be the first ones to kind of be on the backs of anyone being scathing of our players. And I think it's fantastic that Wigan have come out in support of James, because he's highlighted this for a long time, that it's Irish fans. I think it's actually fascinating in the way that Blackpool are the first club to kind of get in trouble for this with their fans. And it would be very interesting to see if shame that Mick wasn't there now, because if they were chanting anti-Irish kind of things to James McLean, what would Mick have been asked about that? Now, I'm not dragging Mick into this, but that is just something like, that's the stupidness and the hypocrisy of some of these fans. They don't actually know who they're actually targeting and who they're offending, because they're going for one player, but it actually offends a lot of other players on the pitch and their own players at times.
Didn't James McLean, though, come out and say that if you're playing for one of these clubs and you're not speaking out about it, you're almost culpable? Andy Lyons, for example, who plays for Blackpool, didn't he come out and say something along?
He did
those
say
lines?
that a few weeks ago, but I don't think it's obviously for Blackpool at that time. It was I think it's I think it'd be kind of harsh on him to target Andy Lyons as
young man, he's only
player coming into it. But I think it's calling out probably the many years of this abuse has happened to James McLean, and that his fellow teammates have not been offended as much as him, and coming in saying, James, I stand with you kind of thing. He has called that out before. Let's be honest, he has, hasn't he? He has said that, and we've got some players who will wear the poppy and others won't. We've always said
Keane wears the poppy.
Well, we've said this before. Oh, here we go. We had that in the sweepstake. 26 minutes. Dave's gone for.
He
Roy.
Does.
But again, fair play. So if he does, that's brilliant, because it's a personal choice. That's it. That's the whole thing about the poppy, and we've had that debate about it before. But I think what James McLean's saying is, and he has said, if I'm getting abuse, he does expect his teammates, international teammates, to probably stand aside him and say, that's not right. It's actually offensive to me as well. And I don't know if that's misguided of James to think that that's going to happen, because they don't all feel the same. And it's.
Do you know what I find funny? Do you know what I find funny as well? Like, Wigan are coming out. Yes. Sure, Wigan fans were abusing him when he was playing for Stoke.
That's it.
That's
football fans, and sometimes it's perceived as banter, but it's not. When it offends one person, it's. And we don't want to be in this woke generation of everything's offensive. This, though, is serious to him. He gets vilified. He gets really outrageous abuse. Like, all right, you popped the Roy Keane.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, but but I'm saying he gets proper vilified. He gets the anti-IRA chants and stuff. Now, we've had this debate before about him, but I think I don't know. I don't think he can expect everyone to stand aside him, because he's so passionate in his beliefs and where he's from in Ireland. I think that's a very difficult thing for others to kind of perhaps feel that way. But I think it's fantastic ultimately that Wigan have come out and supported him here, and that the FA have taken some action at long last.
I do find, though, in the UK, having lived here for 12 years, I've had very little in terms of abuse or any sort of. I've had none really. I've had a couple of.
I've only seen you a couple of times in the street.
When I see him staggering down the street with a can of Stella in his hand, I go the other way, lads.
But that's the thing. Like, and Dave, you're in a job where you're dealing with conflict and you're dealing with people who are very heated and probably at their worst sometimes. Where as I said with McLean, it's that's what football fans do. If you're at a football game and you're hyped up and you're enraged, you go for someone's vulnerability. Sorry, Dave.
Is it because of McLean has sort of he has stoked the fires a bit, obviously with some of his, the one with the history lesson in the mask and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
he doesn't deserve that. Obviously,
no, it hasn't helped, but at the same time, that's his way of trying to rise above it. So I see where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't appropriate. I think.
No, it was not appropriate.
I think as us being Irishmen, we look at that and we think it's a bit of a laugh or whatever. But like, look, at the end of the day, it is a sensitive subject from both angles. That's the reality of it. Like as I said, a lot of people listening to this mightn't agree with that or mightn't like that, but that is the reality. There is kind of two sides to it. So as I said, him rising above it, but it did stoke it. But the response that he got was unacceptable.
No, I mean, and as well, we'll move it on. What you have to remember is a lot of people in mainland Britain, not Northern Ireland, mainland Britain, do not understand the history of the Troubles. They don't understand Bloody Sunday in Derry, all that kind of stuff. They don't understand it, and that's why James won't wear the poppy, and he is absolutely entitled to not wear the poppy. And
we're not going to go down the route of trying to.
Martin,
Bloody Sunday is not just a shit song by U2, is it, Dave? It's
a fabulous song by U2, you cheeky bastard. Alan Partridge, Sunday, bloody Sunday. No,
no joke.
No. Martin was laughing, by the way, for all your listeners. He was laughing as I popped a picture up where Roy came with a poppy.
He wasn't laughing at it.
James wasn't laughing at that. Abused. Yeah. Although no. But yes, like they don't understand that you're dealing with a lot of them are simpletons. These guys, probably haven't got a tooth in their head, and they're pissed up before they go into the. Listen, I've worked in football security for a number of years, lads. I know how they are, and I get it. And they're, they probably haven't got a clue, and you just see James McLean, and they'll just shout whatever. Doesn't make it right, but they just shout whatever. That is probably the extent of that, and you get a couple of other idiots on Facebook. But look, as an Irishman living in England for 12 years, dealing in jobs where there's conflict and having to deal with people, I've had nothing said to me about my nationality at all. The only weird thing I had said to me was something I overheard from some colleagues, but they didn't understand. I won't get into it here, but they didn't understand what they were saying. People are like, really? So is that kind of grey area when it comes to being Irish in England, where they don't mean it, but they just don't understand. They know nothing of Ireland, which is madness. But there you go. Keep your comments coming in on that. We will go back to that when we get to the comment section. But fascinating debate, lads, as always. And we're going to get on to the meat here. Actually, we're sort of going over a little bit here. But always good to get into a nice fiery debate. Now, this is one that's gone up Nick's arse sideways. This is his beloved. And we're not talking about Pat Jennings' finger. We're talking about Dalymount Park. Let's have a look at the brand spanking new Dalymount Park. As we all know, Nick is a Bows fan. Bless you. There we are. That is a 3D graphic thingy for audio listeners. I make a great audio describer, wouldn't I? A visual describer. So it looks like a Lego set, really.
Yeah.
But it's a brand new Dalymount Park. But of course, it's going to hold 8,000, I believe. This is what it originally looked like. And this, I believe, Nick, what we're seeing here, just to describe it home, this on the left, we have what it's going to look like, we hope. And on the right is what they wanted it to look like when Shells were going to go into Dalymount Park, because they were going to sell off Tolka Park where Shells play and merge into one, do a ground share like they do in England. Like they do in Italy, which that doesn't work too well. And here's another little picture of what that looks like. So you're not happy about this, Nick. Why?
No, and it's not even just the fact it's Dalymount Park. It's just this consistent scaling down of League of Ireland stadiums, and there's so many examples. The initial plans.
Give us an example.
Derry City. We got
a picture of that.
Yeah. So if you look, so just for the audio listeners. So on the top left, we basically have the original plans for the Brandywell, which this is good 10 years ago or so. And on the bottom is the actual Brandywell, where basically the stand opposite the original stand in the Brandywell, has been scaled down to a fraction of the size of what it was originally meant to be.
Right.
So you have expectation versus reality with Dalymount Park. So look, I'm following Bowes a long time. There's always been, like, I remember the Jody being redeveloped, that kind of thing. You know, there's always been redevelopments in the pipeline. There's always been these grand plans and grand designs of what would happen. At one stage, Bowes were going to relocate out towards the airport. That fell through. There was, massive financial issues with that, and nearly ran the club into the ground. At the moment, so the re-releasing of these plans, let's say, so it is a scaling down as so far that the kind of public amenities around it aren't going to be included. So the public library, the community centre, that kind of thing, they aren't going to be included. A part of that was the fact the Shells pulled out, which was fine with me. As a Bowes fan, that was fine with me. I didn't like the idea of sharing with Shells, although Shells are based in Drumcondra. They're from Shelburne Park. They are basically a Rings End team, more or less. And it didn't sit well with me. But having said that, I never really got the whole Save Tulka Park thing.
Why?
Have you been to Tulka Park?
Actually, I haven't. I really do want to go,
Yeah.
but I've never been to Tulka Park. Yeah, but Tulka Park, I know what you're going to say. Tulka Park, a lot of people say it's run down.
And I've been in Tulka Park, and I enjoy going to Tulka Park. I enjoy going to Tulka Park, but
it's got a rich history, though. Like,
it has a rich history. But having said that, okay, this is one of the massive issues with League of Ireland redevelopments. And I'm going to come back to Dalymount Park in a second, but with the Save Tulka Park movement, which I appreciate, and if I was a Shells fan, I would have been on that altogether, because look, there is a rich history there. There is I suppose there's an attachment to the ground. There's been league wins on that ground. There's been some fantastic memories for Shells fans on that ground, but that ground is not fit for purpose, unfortunately. It is not fit for purpose. And by saving Tulka Park, which is good, I think it should have been maybe more community-based. Maybe you could have had, maybe underage teams playing there or whatever, a training facility, something like that. But by remaining in there, there's no shift in infrastructure. And I know that there's plans down the line to redevelop. Where, when is that going to happen? Where is that going to happen? It's very hard to know. So you're stuck with this stadium. They're stuck with Tulka Park, and as a result, and as I said, it's conflicting for me, because I didn't really want Shells there, but I did want Dalymount to be redeveloped. You have a scaled down version of Dalymount Park, and now you have a situation where these new plans are, initially they're saying the capacity is going to be 8,000 as opposed to the 6,000 that was originally specified.
Yeah.
If you're going on that Brandywell redevelopment, it's not going to be 8,000. It's not going to be 8,000. You can scale down those Dalymount plans that have already been scaled down. And when I say scaled down, I don't mean the capacity. I mean the overall, first of all, the overall aesthetic to it, the overall, the amenities around it. So what's been presented last week, it's very unlikely, first of all, that will even start within the next 10 years. And if it does, fantastic. And I'll eat humble pie and I'd be delighted. But again, I go to Dalymount Park. I love the rusticness of it. I love how old school it is. I love the murals, the graffiti. I love the old stand. I love the history attached to it. But it's kind of like, getting really, really comfortable in your dirty bath water and having a bath in it every night. You have to change the water. You have to progress. And grounds, especially football grounds, they serve a purpose for so long, and they have to redevelop. If you look at the Premier League, when the Premier League started in what was it, 93?
92, 93.
92, 93. Okay. Some of the grounds, they were still better in League of Ireland grounds, but a lot of clubs realised that they had to upgrade, that they had to make it fit for purpose. You look at Tallaght, fine stadium. I've no problem saying that, absolutely fine stadium. You look at the plans for Sligo, you look at the plans for Finn Harps, it's fine. But my worry, my issue with it is these plans, if they're scaled down, when are things going to progress? Because at the end of the day, a lot of fans in all League of Ireland clubs say, well, we want to keep some kind of rich history, and we want to keep some kind of, I suppose, original aesthetic to the club. or original feature to the club, rather. Sorry, not aesthetic, original feature to the club. But by doing that, you're holding the ground back years, and really there is no redevelopment.
Right. Well, just looking at some figures here. So there's no date for completion, but in terms of the cost, they reckon it's going to cost 40 million. Funding available to bring the project up to construction. This is all from the PDF file that you released. 40 million euros. It will only proceed on receipt of substantial funding from central government and a few other things as well. Now, this has been going on for a long time. I take your point with. I'm going to sound terrible here, but this is Ireland we're talking about.
No, I know. Yeah.
Nothing gets built. It doesn't, or when it does, it gets scaled back.
Half-assed built.
Half-assed built.
But it's kicked down. It's kicked down the ground for years. Because as I said, like Dalymount Park should have been redeveloped about 30 odd years ago. But it's gone on, and now people are like, well, it's the same ground it was back in the 1960s. Obviously, the Jody's been redeveloped, and it's like, well, it's harder to let go of now. But how long? How long do you do that? Like the old Lansdowne Road, I love the old Lansdowne Road, but it had to be redeveloped. Well, it had to be redeveloped.
Lansdowne Road didn't have a new stand put in it until 1983, the Guinness East stand. I take your point with that. In terms of, for me, I think Atletico Park should be saved because it's Irish lineage, it's football history. I think it was the first, had floodlights. That stadium had floodlights, albeit temporary, had floodlights before Wembley did, Atletico Park. See, I think there's a massive issue here with Irish football is that there's no lineage. That's my new buzzword at the moment. There's no history. We seem to get rid of it. So, anyone unfamiliar with the League of Ireland, Drumcondra used to play in Atletico Park because that's where Atletico Park is in. It's in Drumcondra. And yes, Shelbourne used to play in Shelbourne Park, which is now the other side of the city, and now a greyhound track. I remember being in the greyhound track when the football posts were still there. I was about 4. And I think that's the problem, is that we can kind of tear these things down. But like that's the history. That should be preserved. You're not going to build fan bases. It's communities.
The San Siro's getting torn down.
Well, it's been getting torn down for the last 10 years.
I know, but like
they have the same problem.
But where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line?
But that's it. Sorry, Matt, I'll let you come in 2 seconds, Brian. Sorry, but that just to get my point across. In Ireland, clubs go up, they go down. You look at Liverpool 1892, United 18. Well, it's Everton 1878. United was 1878 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. These are old. These are what's the word I'm looking for? These are established clubs. Where in Ireland, they kind of come and they go. Wexford then became Wexford Youths, and I think had Limerick City. Now they're all. This is one major problem, and I think we have to preserve that. I think it's very important that each club has its own identity. And I get it, Atletico Park. It should be redeveloped. Bohemians have their ground. Atletico Park Shells have their ground. So I get what you're saying. And yes, this, and do you know what, Martin? Actually, last week, I know you weren't on it last week, Nick, but Martin, this is what I'm saying to you about. This is why I think that the whole, we won't get bogged down on it, but that's why I think the whole Euro 2028 bid's a load of bollocks, because look at these problems. We don't even have, that's our national stadium, Dalymount Park. That's what people don't understand. Dalymount Park is our national stadium. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I do understand that. I'm a massive historian. I'm not into war as much as you, Dave, but I do love history and and tradition and things. And I think if a national stadium or a stadium can be preserved in some part, but I think at the same time, I think we have to modernise if we want to attract new commercial interest and money into it and safety into stadiums. And I think that's probably the difficulty for the government and these clubs as well. And the ground share I don't know enough about the League of Ireland. I'll hold my hands up to know the politics between clubs, but ground shares seem a natural thing, to be honest, because if you've got 2 stadiums attracting 4,000 each for games, you might as well let them share a stadium that can accommodate 8 every week or whatever.
I think that's fair for some parts of the country. I agree with you there, where they can combine resources. And agree with that. It's not a massive rivalry, but I don't think with Shells and Bows that should happen, because it wasn't
a good fit. No, it wasn't a good fit.
No, I accept that, but I just think if a ground is decrepit, full of asbestos and stuff, you have to tear it down. There are fanciful architects now who can preserve something special within stadiums. Like the tunnel at Old Trafford, for example. The original tunnel is actually on the halfway line. and that is preserved to some respects now. So if you go to the tour of Man United, you can still be in the tunnel, the original tunnel that stood there. Barcelona have preserved their stadium, and the new camp they're renovating as well. You have to move forward with times. I think they could probably do that, but it does what it does in Ireland. It adds cost to it. They'll probably get 2 or 3 consultants in on this. It won't happen. That consultant's getting paid 12, 15 grand. Then it comes another consultant. They're getting paid 12, 13 grand. Then you get the third one and it actually happens. So you've wasted like 50 grand on people with their ideas. And that's the way Ireland works. And that's the fact of it. I know that a little bit from Nolan Park as well in the GAA ground in Kilkenny. I think of the amount of success Kilkenny have had over the years, GAA, and I'm thinking, Jesus, this is a stadium we have on the back of it. I'm amazed at how wasteful the government are and associations are and clubs are with putting in the money they've made over success over the years of putting it back into their communities and back into their stadia. That's a different thing. Look at Buckley Park in Kilkenny. Used to hold under 21 matches, and it's just left to be decrepit and ruined. And you've got Evergreen as a club up the road. That's just nonsense to me. Put it in there. Like that's a different topic, of course. But what a waste. I mean, that we're wasting places. I just don't understand that.
No, I do agree there. I think there has to be a concerted effort where people just pull together and say, look, lads, the league we need grounds to certain parts of stadiums. We need to put our resources together. We need to work together on this. We can have a rivalry, but we need to work together. I 100% agree with that.
It's the next step because the football's gotten better. The standard of player, like look at Jack. I was watching Jack Byrne the other night. Phenomenal player.
He's a phenomenal player.
So that's there. There's traction there. There's always been a decent following, but it's probably only being publicized properly now. Now you've
cooking on the pitch.
Yeah, and now you've a new wave of fans, which is fantastic as well. You've better publicity, and the next step is the infrastructure. But too many people are so bogged down on preserving history, which has a place, but with football, with something you're trying to grow, you have to modernize to grow.
You can do both.
Until you can't, like as Martin said, you can. You absolutely can, but unfortunately, Breen spoke about this a couple of years ago on the show, and he said it's like playing homage to dead people. Like, how long are you going to preserve a stadium?
Sorry, Dave, just come in here. That's what it is in Irish sport, right? That's the key thing of this, right? It's people, old people who, or their dad ran the club and done a brilliant job for it for years.
Yeah.
They want them to have their day in the sun and be lauded and stuff. And we have to move on. And it's like, oh, we can't because it's, oh, my dad. And it's shite. You got to move forward now. Look, it's a modern sport. That's it. We need better standards. People are not going to invest in it and go to games to stand in a shithole with shit toilets and stuff. Wembley Stadium had to be regenerated. It's still not fantastically perfect. No. But you used to stand in puddles of piss. And it was just accepted. That's the modern day is not going to be accepted. Spending serious money on things. It's not going to be treated seriously.
I do agree there. We've got to move it on, lads. I do agree. I think
it's a pod in itself. It's a pod in itself.
It is a pod in itself. Yeah. I mean, for me, I just think Talca Park, that there is history there. Big football history, say with Dalymount Park. But yeah, I do agree with some other places that look, just tear it down, start again.
Nick, you've been to Talca Park, haven't you?
And I've been to Talca Park a lot.
Dave, man of the people, Dave, you've not been there. Don't worry. We'll talk about another day.
It needs, as I said, I'd no problem
with
do
it up, lads.
I'd no problem with them going. I'd no problem with them going back, but going back and then what's in place, because it needs a massive. It's a health and safety hazard. And it's a great and I know it's very sacrilegious to say me, and I know we've Bows fans who follow the podcast, very sacrilegious of me to say this, but I like Talca Park. I enjoy going to Talca Park, but as I said, it's fine them going back, it's fine them wanting to preserve it, but it needs a massive facelift. You can't just you can't. It's like saying, you know what, I've a burst pipe in my house, and I'm going to move out until the renovations are done, and then you say, do you know what, fuck it, no, I don't want to leave the house. I'll go back and I'll let the house flood, and I'll let the water damage but seep in. That's what it is.
I'm not saying that you preserve what you have there. Oh, because tear the fucking thing down, knock it down, reinforce it, because the River Talca, when it bursts its banks, it completely, I think they have a bar underneath the stand. So I do know something about Talca Park, you cheeky bastards. But I know, like, it bursts its banks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it needs money, but I'm just saying, have a ground there. I'm not saying, you know.
Oh no, for sure, for sure, but that ground isn't going to change for how many years? That's the thing.
Oh no, because it's Ireland. I get it.
Yeah.
Look, how's the metro going? Do you know what I mean?
Sure,
stuff like that. Anyway, listen, that fascinating topic again. We'll move it on. We're running out of time here, so we're gonna
Bono.
Bono
fucking put his money back into the country. Anyway, different context.
Why did you put your money into the country, you cheeky bastard? Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing though? Well, I suppose I'm an excellent as well. Isn't it amazing? You look how wealthy Ireland is, right? Apparently, and then you look at all the money. It's like something like, what was it, 200 million going into English football from Ireland, from trips and everything. And then you have grounds like that. It is just a microcosm of a whole other bigger issue. Anyway, lads, we're going to move it on to social media watch and comments. We're going to hurry it along here on a social media watch. Just want to give a shout out. We know he's watching. He always does. Good old Declan Finnegan, and who featured on Jimmy Dunn's Instagram. There he is, Declan, supporting his beloved Oars. Bless him, because they're not having the best of season at the moment. But yep, there's Jimmy Dunn sharing a picture of Declan Finnegan. Hope you're well, Declan. Always a pleasure to me, and for you to criticize my dress sense. I think he likes to. Right, let's get into the comments, lads. There's a couple of meaty ones here, actually. John Griffin says, "Hello, Irish Football Blog. Can't wait to buy your podcast out, lads." What, have you got the fiver? Have you? No. Yeah, good look at that, sweet cheeks. FAI channel. No, don't worry, Martin. It's not the real one. Greetings from Saudi Arabia. Hello, FAI channel. Just found out that Billy Bingham used to manage Al Nazir, Ronaldo's current club, in the 80s. I nearly had a heart attack when I found out. And I say he did as well. No, glad to see you there, FAI channel. That's where you're in Saudi Arabia. There you go. Kieran Boyle, how you doing, Kieran, over in sunny Florida? Lads, are we going to touch on the Robbie Keane, Figo, John Delaney photo in Sunday's name? Oh Jesus! Away to feck with Castor. Hashtag Adidas or away to feck. What picture would you be talking about? Would you be happen to be talking about this?
Where was that? I didn't. I
London.
I'm surprised you weren't trying to get in there, Martin.
Yeah, I suppose you weren't. You're not there. You and the.
The phone is actually being handed to me.
You're in the phone, aren't you?
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did hear about this last week. Couldn't find a photograph, but there you go. Robbie Keane with John Delaney and Luis Figo.
I don't know really on that. All I would say is,
don't try and put us.
No, I'm not. No, but all I say is obviously Figo's very involved in the Portuguese FA. Yeah, and Robbie's very important within the FA of Ireland.
He's not in the wage bill anymore, is he?
No. He is kind of though involved in UEFA, and I'd say this could be a UEFA thing. Is all I'm going to try and understand how this works, because that was what it was about the UEFA Euro 2020 when it was in London. It was a little bit like this. It was like Figo was around, Robbie was there, all under, they do this ambassador roles as association kind of personnel. That's all. I don't know how John Delaney's been dragged into that still, but looking well.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie has his arm around. I'm not being funny, but Jesus Christ, why would you, John Delaney? You shouldn't have anything to do with this man. This man could be facing criminal proceedings over here, although it is Ireland, so probably nothing happened anyway. Why would you be with this guy? I'm sorry, that is a black guy. That is a black guy in Robbie Keane. Just saying. We'll leave it at that. We'll move it on. Anyway, Kieran Boyle gets on Cannon capped up to Jesus in the senior team.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
No arguments there. Declan Finnegan. Stephen Kenny was at Blackburn against Preston North End yesterday. Yes, he was. 2 players. He's probably looking at somebody else, is he? Who else plays?
That's probably looking for excuses not to pick Sammy Smoddox, and he might say, "Oh, he scored, but he also handballed the ball into the goal." Yeah, no, it's good to see him scouting.
And Keith Andrews was down at the Rotherham game against Bristol City, so that was where he was off to.
Watching Ireland's number 20, Martin Fitzpatrick. Was there anything of John O'Shea getting the Reading job? I did hear a rumour of this, lads. I didn't post on it. Did we hear anything there?
Yeah, I've heard the rumours of it. And yeah, in the betting markets, he went straight away into favouritism for that. It was a question I asked of Keith Andrews the other night, not of this with John O'Shea, but just about Keith. Basically, Stephen Kenny bringing in these coaches who have all then left, and I think it was kind of passed off as he brings in good coaches and they're attractive because I don't know if you saw Anthony Barry recently left his role with Chelsea.
Bayern Munich now, isn't he? Yeah.
And £1 million compensation. It was a question I asked of Keith Andrews, how much would he be worth? He didn't comment on that one. But, we've got some good coaches there. And again, I think it's an endorsement of the FAI, Mr. Positive again. But the courses that they're putting on, lots of lads involved in it and coming through them, and fair play.
How much would this man say Keith Andrews is worth?
Well, I don't know about your vilification of him for that challenge. During the week. Many years ago. Obviously, you went to town and chose to do a podcast about it. But yeah, we'll probably do one in a few weeks.
That you're on.
Do one. Yeah, I am on. But
which, by the way, you can listen to.
You'll glorify the Holland challenge when we do one in a few weeks' time.
I will not. How dare you? By the way, you can listen to that on greenmachinepodcast.com. The greenmachinepodcast.com. That is this week back in the day where we cover Roy Keane's assault on Alf Inge Haaland.
Did I see someone on? I know we haven't covered this, but someone said, "Oh yeah, I can't believe you're saying that it was acceptable for him to break his leg." Someone recently commented. I think I don't know if I read that somewhere right.
Who I said it was acceptable.
No. Someone commented on our post of it, saying, "Oh, I can't believe you're endorsing the fact that he broke his leg." I mean, again, dispel the myth. Listen to the podcast, find out the truth of what happened, and all apologies, care of David.
Didn't break his leg at all.
No, he played the rest of the game and 68 minutes the next. It was actually, it's all in the pocket, but it was actually an injury on his other knee, on his left knee. The challenge. The challenge was on his right knee, Keane's one, but it was actually the left knee injury that ended his career. So yeah, but it's all in the podcast. It is actually a very good podcast. If not, come back and I'll refund you your money. Kieran Boyle, Doherty is done and dusted. No spark, sweat, or creativity. Should have stayed at Wolves. I'd have Terry Phelan and 46-year-old Stephen ahead of him in the pecking order. Yeah, I can't really argue with you much there. An FAI channel says, I always knew that the Matt Doherty deal was going to be a shambles. He's not going to be fit enough for a June games. And Martin has nothing to say.
I do have actually something to say on this. I don't really accept that because I think he'll be back now. He'll end up coming back when as soon as the league finishes, he'll end up coming back, training, probably get a personal trainer in with him, keep himself match fit and sharp. A little bit of insight for the listeners is that the team will be meeting up at the end of the playoff, the championship playoffs. They're going to be doing I think they're going to have like 10-day break. They're bringing it back into a FAI camp. They're going to go to Turkey, and they're also meeting up in Bristol for a 3-day camp as well. So
Bristol,
the lads are coming in and going to be sharp because they are obviously set up for this June window with the 2 games. So I think that's something that we have to focus on. And look, they're professional footballers. They're going to keep themselves fit and sharp. He's not. I know he might be match fit, but he's sharp, isn't he?
Oh yeah, because that's not important. Like being match fit.
No, but it is. But it isn't. It isn't though.
I just hope that you get media passes and you get one of these lovely lanyards. Actually, they're up here.
I have my own lanyard.
Yeah, proper. Not one that's from the back of a cornflakes box. And I hope you get to sit next to me because I can hold you personally responsible if he has a bad game. Right, moving on, lads. FAI challenge again. Callagher needs to get out of Liverpool. He's wasting his career on the bench. Where do you think he'll go next season? I'm hearing rumours of Spurs. I actually wouldn't inflict that on the poor bastard. Very quickly, lads. Where do you think he's going to go, Martin?
Where will he go?
He won't go. He won't go anywhere permanently. It'll be a loan deal.
Loan deal. What about you, Nick?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
come on, Nick.
I've no idea where to go. Championship. I think if you put me on the spot, Championship on loan.
Fair enough. FAI channel again. It's the silly things that Doherty does that makes him very vulnerable, like the mistake against Denmark in the last game under Mick. Missed a penalty against Slovakia in the playoff. Yeah, he missed
the penalty is a penalty, I suppose. Yeah.
No, fair enough. Darren O'Grady, showing solidarity with someone suffering discrimination doesn't mean endorsing their views. If people don't agree with James McLean, it is a cop-out to say that they won't take a stand against the shite he endures. That's from Darren O'Grady. Connor, fuck Irish football blog. Do you know what, Connor? You've nailed it. You own you own the internet for today. Hi, Bill. FEI channel question for me. Do you like living in England, Dave? Do I like living in England? Yes, I do, actually. It's great. London, 12 years. Fantastic. I'm having a great time over here. Really enjoy it. Enjoy the people. Genuinely. Yeah.
He does. I can endorse that. He enjoys the people.
And do they enjoy Dave, though?
Oh, absolutely.
They enjoy the people. And Dave is a very people person.
I'm bringing all the nationalities around the world in one glorious whole.
UN convention.
It's like Dave-a-vision. You're a vision. Dave-a-vision.
It is indeed.
All the nationalities in one.
Have my own little map. You can scratch off.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, moving on.
Nipois.
And by the way, FEI channel, do you enjoy living in Saudi Arabia? And again, the whole league has to be redeveloped. This is the League of Ireland. The league has been falling apart for years. The sooner foreign investment comes in, the better. The only way to grow the league is by getting teams into Europe. Yeah, just need that money. Hopefully with the Conference League, Europa Conference League, easy for me to say, will help generate that cash. Now, here's an interesting one. I can't see all of it just yet. It's from Graham Walters. Graham Walters, James McLean, he's a Blackpool fan, I believe, brings this on himself with his words and actions, which he's done over many years. I don't condone some of the bigoted or sectarian abuse that he apparently got in brackets. I wasn't at the game, but in all honesty, he deserves much of the shite he gets, in my opinion. Graham Walters' opinion. He's a bang average footballer who raises his profile with cheap shots like this, making highly confrontational and provocative political statements, as well as revealing his array of provocative tattoos to the crowd. And it continues. I'm going to try and get the rest of that, actually, lads. Bear with me 2 seconds. What do you make so far, part one of Graham saying he brings it on himself?
I'd like to read the rest of it because I think the whole context is needed on this, to be honest.
Isn't it frustrating?
He like we said it already, didn't he? He doesn't help. He doesn't help the situation, and he certainly amplifies it. However, it doesn't condone the abuse. It doesn't condone the discrimination. It doesn't condone the lack of action up until this point that's been taken by the FA. Does he help the situation? Is he dignified with the situation? That's questionable.
The rest is coming here.
Yeah, and that's probably something that I won't be very popular saying it. But is he dignified with it? I don't know. Yeah.
All right, just going to read the rest of the comment here. Sorry, it's just not on the screen. So at Blackpool, we have Irish lad Andy Lyons regularly in the team, and in the past, we've had some fine Irish internationals like Mickey Walsh and Mickey Burns from the 1970s. When I first started,
as well.
Yep. When I first started following the club, those lads didn't get abuse because they were Irish, and neither did fabulous players like Lee Brady or Frank Stapleton. And all these guys were playing at the height of the troubles. The difference being they were classy and let their football do the talking. McLean isn't. He's just a scumbag, and sooner he sods off to Derry City instead of claiming the King's shilling than spitting in the face of English football fans, the better. He sounded so dignified, right?
I'll give Graham. I think if we read the start of it, and I thought, wow, what a kind of. I understood the argument. Obviously, the end of it's flown away there, Graham. To be fair, for me, I think, look, it's making a valid point. You know that you've had Irish internationals at Blackpool, or you've seen Irish players play against Blackpool over the years and not been subject to the abuse. James McLean isn't a popular figure because of his beliefs, and he does get abuse. And I think we are probably seeing the minority who have built that up and have a case against James McLean, and that's just filtered across all the other teams and their fan support within English football. And it's a popular thing. It's the mob, basically. Let's abuse James McLean. He's reacted over the years, not very wisely at times, as Nick's alluded to as well. I know he probably does inflame it a little bit, showing off the tattoos and stuff, because I think, to be fair to him, he's isolated on the pitch. He's getting that abuse. He's going to show off his Derry tattoo. Now, then you could argue, like Graham will probably do so, of saying, well, he's now inciting us because he's showing off his tattoo. But you know,
he's done exceptionally well, James McLean, to hold. Like, I mean, look, the gestures, the bits and pieces like that. He's done exceptionally well to hold his ship basically for the last few years. Yeah.
Okay.
And his family gets abuse, and that's one thing I think is key on this.
Well, it's in the post.
His family gets abuse, and
That's right.
you know, whatever he puts up with on the pitch, you can say okay, but like fair play, he's actually stood up to it. And you know, I think I as we said earlier, I think it's amazing that the FA have now taken notice to him and actually backing his complaints about this, because it's right, it is right, and I hope he is backed by other Irish international footballers.
Okay, we're moving on there. FAI channel, best memory from Talga Park was when Shells v Hajduk split in 2004. Dave Rogers scoring the screamer. Declan Finnegan, great day Burnley yesterday. And it continues. Don't know if you picked this up earlier in the week, but when Adam Ida scored against QPR midweek, he became the 9th Irish player to score against QPR this season. Bet you're delighted about that, Declan. One more, just to wrap up the comments this week, is FAI channel again. Sometimes lots of cultural differences and no alcohol.
Oh, that's about living in Dubai, is it?
That's about living in Dubai. Right, that's going to move it on to the last section of the program. We've gone a little bit over, more like a party political broadcast over, and we're going to move it on to this week back in the day, which Martin isn't on. And just want to say, I actually think we just recorded before we came on air here, and I think it's the best episode we've ever done, Nick. Ever.
Oh, agreed.
Yep.
A1.
Absolutely.
A1 Sharon.
Yep. That's from the Snapper, Martin, just in case you're wondering. It's an Irish movie. Okay. And here we are. It's when the Irish team snubbed Opal. And I got a lovely little video to play here. Get your
Look alive, it's a brand new style now. Opal's come a long, long way now. Quality you can't deny. Opal makes you understand why it's your time to fly. Look at Opal now. Look at Opal now. Look at Opal now.
You're probably wondering what that is, Martin. It's actually Vauxhall. Just saying. In the it's gone. Right, so we're going to talk about Wednesday. It drops 8 a.m. and we're going to talk about when the Irish football team snubbed Opal at a banquet after we beat Spain 1-0 in a very memorable game on the 26th of April 1989. Nick and I are on it. Martin's not on it because he didn't think it was important enough, and actually I don't think he'll be asking Martin back for the next one.
No,
okay,
don't think so.
I know, Martin, please.
Third wheeling. He'd only be third wheeling.
Yeah. No, I need you, Martin. No,
I like you referencing the Snapper there, which is a good film, a Roddy Doyle film. The Van is a better film.
The Van is good, actually. Yeah, The Commitments is all right. That's a trilogy, isn't it? But they changed the name.
Barrytown trilogy.
But they changed the name, didn't they? From the Commitments. Sorry, they had to change the name from the last two movies, because the Commitments, they bought the rights for all the characters, didn't they? The big thing. So they're different. It's the same family.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just had to change the name. But anyway,
the Rabbits.
The Rabbits.
Yeah, the Rabbit family.
Yeah. God, brings me on.
A lot of retro Irish stuff in that though, like the jerseys and stuff, like you know, in the markets and stuff. It's very good, very good.
It's a cracking one, and if you like that, it will be available on wherever you get your podcast from. 8 o'clock Wednesday morning is this week. Back in the day, it's when the Irish team snub Opal, because you're just thinking, well, what's that interesting? Why is that interesting? Well, because it almost caused Jack Charlton to resign as Ireland manager. And Ireland could have gone to the World Cup in 1990 without a manager. And why? We explain it in this. Nick and I go through it all. We talk about Jack having a go with Frank Stapleton, which is hilarious. Why? A very interesting one on Mick as well. You know, we see characteristics of Mick as captain here, and we see traits of that going further down the line whilst he's a manager as well. Just lots. I don't want to give too much away, but lots of interesting little nuggets of information. So yet again, that will be available on the Facebook page, Twitter, all of those places. And that's also available on greenmachinepodcast.com, greenmachinepodcast.com. And one last time, lads, what else can you get at greenmachinepodcast.com? You can get yourself a lovely shirt. You want to support the pod? Buy a shirt. £40, €45. Free delivery anywhere else. Good enough for Keith Andrews?
Yeah, it was very good for Keith Andrews. But also just remember they are rushed off the shelves, to be honest. Very limited sizes now on some of these available. So, but we do have plenty of the badges available. So, and again, they're selling out really, really well because that's the new FAI badge with our collaboration with our new partners. Not Dave's partners, but new partners that we've done with the badges. So they're selling really, really well as well. So just if you want to have them for June, they'll do really well.
Let me tell you something. This is a family show, Martin, and I'm and I'm a wholesome entity. That I'm the moral compass of this podcast, who at times loses his temper on WhatsApp, but it's for the good of the podcast. Anyway. Lads, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much. Thank you for supporting the pod at home. Please give us a follow on Facebook if you don't already. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter. You can go on easy for me to say again. Go on the YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe there as well. And also, you can also go to the greenmachinepodcast.com, the greenmachinepodcast.com. You can get articles, all sorts of stuff on there. Our entire back catalogue is on there, including an audio version of this. So, lads, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much. We'll see you again next week on the Green Machine Live.